Yeah, I think it's finally time we head back into the Mega Man series. We got Mega Man 11 coming out in a couple of months, but a lot of people are also excited for the upcoming Mega Man X Legacy Collection. All 8 games are being split into 2 packages, but that's a complaint for another time. What is Mega Man X? Was it the 10th entry of the series before the 10th entry of the series was a thing 17 years later? Not sure if it was just Capcom trying to follow the trends, but the idea was to create a more hardcore Mega Man. Something less Astro Boy and more like the Terminator. Okay, slight exaggeration, but the setup of the game doesn't lie. This was a darker Mega Man title, and it hits you as soon as you start the game up. We get this boot up screen of someone logging into the computer. It's later revealed to be Dr. Kane, but holy shit, over 32,000 terabytes of memory? This motherfucker's got the entirety of Pornhub in there, goddamn! And it's such a jarring contrast, isn't it? Like, I can imagine those who grew up with classic Mega Man used to the bright and colorful atmosphere, he's running in the sunlight, mission accomplished, and then they play Mega Man X and it's like, this motherfucker will kill you! This is the biggest mystery of the X series that to this day has not been directly answered. What happened to classic Mega Man, or Proto Man? What about Roll, Rush, Auto for Christ's sakes? There's literally no one from the previous era alive? Yeah, they're all gone. Led by their commander Sigma, who may or may not be an actual dickhead, X was enlisted into the Maverick Hunters joined by his buddy Zero, who in fact was Keiji Inafune's original design for Mega Man X, but it was deemed too radically different. In a game that kills off all the previous characters, and that's where the line was drawn, alright. But in the American box art, he's fucking pissed, and he can't aim for shit. The Japanese box art kind of continues the trend of Rockman covers, where it's just an ensemble of the heroes and bad guys. My favorite being Sigma. It's like, yeah, how's it going, everybody? Yeah, I'm Sigma. Hey. The X series as a whole is more involved with this plot than the classic series, as we'll see the further we go into these games, but it still shares a lot of tropes from the previous generation. Mavericks, for instance, are this series' robot masters, and Sigma is this series' Dr. Wily. Of course, Mega Man X isn't H.R. Geiger Grimm. It isn't that radically different from the classic series. At the end of the day, it's a faster-paced Mega Man. And I certainly didn't think any of that shit when I first played this so many years ago. I was more like, oh man, this game looks so cool! Look at the size of my charge shot! Holy shit, that is awesome! I'm climbing walls, I'm shooting a penguin in the face, and goddamn, this soundtrack is fantastic! My favorites being Boomer Kuwanger, Storm Eagle, Sting Chameleon, Armin Armadillo, all of Sigma stages, the boss music, both variations. I even love the password theme. The password theme! We're talking about a screen on a game that you probably skip past in half a second, but oh, I don't know why, but I fucking love that sound. X doesn't have much health when he starts off compared to the original Mega Man that had max health from the start in every game. You gotta find heart containers if you want more health now, and I'm on and on with this honestly. On one hand, I love the feeling of discovering these. On the other hand, it's a gameplay element that exists by taking something established, in this case a full health bar, and cutting it into pieces, and it's like this for every game. So X, I mean, what the fuck are you doing, man? Your health is as flimsy as Samus's power armor. Because there's also permanent armor upgrades you can find in certain stages that the late Dr. Light left for you to find. I don't know why these weren't just built into his core design, but I won't speak ill of the dead. Not just yet. Later on, you can even score the Hadoken from Street Fighter, and though you need full health to use it, it can one-shot anything. It's a little morbid on how you get it, though. You make this jump off this platform, collect this energy capsule, and then jump off the cliff and die, and you do it about 4 more times. Dr. Light, what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
That's a good question.
You take on Vile again, only you're much stronger this time. Yeah, don't to your face, motherfucker! Your buddy Zero ends up sacrificing himself to give you the advantage, see you next game, buddy. And finally, it's just you, Sigma, and a potential lawsuit from George Lucas. No, seriously, Capcom was pushing this shit. I mean, Vile is a simple color swap away from being Boba Fett. I guess they really enjoyed Star Wars. Anywho, X defeats Sigma, saves the day, and watches as Castlevania crumbles over the horizon. X then begins to ponder about his purpose in life and how long he must keep fighting to ensure peace. And spoiler warning, that isn't getting old anytime soon. And the voice acting isn't too bad. It's hit and miss, sure. Like, I love Lucas Gibertson as Zero, but I swear every time he plays up the drama, it sounds like he's about to burst into a fit of laughter.
Change the world? Sounds like Maverick talk to me. Perpetrator was so skilled. Not many reploids have specs that high.
Oh, fuck! I forgot about the iPhone version. Well, we have to give that one a shot and see how it holds. See, I love the hell out of Mega Man X, and though I've been playing this game since the mid-90s, I wouldn't really get to play the other games in this series until the early 2000s at the earliest. When you're a kid with no reliable source of income, getting new games, it's kinda hard. Plus, compared to X1, finding physical copies of X2 and X3 is substantially harder, and when you do find them, expect to pay a goddamn premium. Like the Super FX chip that Star Fox and Yoshi's Island used, it allowed the development team to harness its power for some cool special effects. In this game's case, wireframes, smacking you in the face as soon as the title screen appears. You got the Mega Man logo appearing just as before, and then... Okay, I did think it was cool as shit back then. I didn't play X2 or 3 until later, but my uncle did rent these games on occasion, and I was able to see them in action then. And I remember the Sigma head creeping me out a bit. But I loved how the 3D wireframe still kept his Stallone lip intact, and that's detail I can admire. As such, good luck finding this one for cheap. You're better off either getting the X collection for the PS2 or GameCube, or wait a couple more weeks for the Legacy collection. Save yourself a good $150 because fuck. It's only been 6 months since the last game. Mega Man X and the rest of the Maverick hunters, i.e. this one other guy on a bike, have managed to corner the last of the Maverick resistance in this abandoned factory. Hoping to finally put an end to Sigma's revolt, the Maverick hunters... X heads out to wipe out the remaining Mavericks, utilizing their own army of Mavericks. The plan is to distract X while they slowly reconstruct Zero and attempt to turn him to the dark side. Before disappearing, though, he questions why Zero insists on helping the Maverick hunters, seeing as he's, quote, the last of the Doctor's creations.
That's a mystery.
Could it be Dr. Kane? Dr. Light? Perhaps Willy? Afterwards, we literally get the same ending shots from X1. X looking over the horizon, wondering how long the battle against humans and Reploids must continue. Okay, yeah. And then X rides off into the sunset. X starts every game from square one. All his heart tanks, sub-tanks, and upgrades from last time are gone with no explanation. What the fuck is that about? Are they in the wash? Did he outgrow them? Did he leave them in his duffel bag?
God damn it!
Stages also don't change anymore when you defeat certain Mavericks now, meaning you must complete every level as originally designed. No more blackouts or chilled out factors for you. You're gonna avoid that liquid hot magma and you're gonna fucking like it. The body armor, on top of giving you added defense, now grants you the Giga Crush. It's a screen nuke that doesn't do much against bosses, but it completely wipes out anything smaller. This robot fish and bubble crab stage, Surge's little contraption here, and plus, it just looks awesome. Dr. Light, where the fuck was this shit earlier?
That's a good question.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the 32-bit Mega Man X3. It adds brand new animated cutscenes for Maverick intros, as well as a completely animated opening, showcasing Mega Man X and past adventures, and introducing the new bad guy for this game, Dr. Doppler, who can't keep his mouth closed. But since we can't have X killing a bunch of innocents in this series, Dr. Doppler's followers soon turn Maverick and begin to start another invasion, with Doppler at the center stage, as he's actually under orders from, get this, the returning Sigma, who the PS1 version doesn't even try to hide for the sake of suspense. I'll give Doppler points for the massively large shoulders, but I kinda question this guy's thinking patterns. He doesn't believe X could be so powerful, knowing that he bested Sigma twice beforehand. Well, yeah, shithead, you should know damn well that X shouldn't be underestimated, and it just feels like a bit of clumsy riding there. Sigma's defeated, seemingly for good this time, and then X and Zero, oh my god, watch over the horizon and wonder how long they'll have to keep doing this again. But then the game just blatantly tells us that to achieve true peace, X must destroy Zero. I'm sorry, what? That's quite the jump in logic there. This was apparently a mistranslation from the Japanese script, which just mentions that X and Zero are destined to fight at some point, but still, what the fuck's the correlation between the two? At no point in the series so far did X and Zero have clashing ideologies that would justify a fight to the death to ensure an end to the fight between humans and Reploids. Did X3 just go ahead and spoil the next few games for us? That's like reading the last page first. You don't do that shit. Well, Mega Man X3 has some of the most nut-crunching enemy design so far. If they don't take forever to kill with your default weapon, they're spammed needlessly through the stage, and yeah, X3 still has that problem where enemies immediately respawn if you off-screen them by just a couple of pixels. And if that weren't enough, most of these assholes can kill X in about 3 hits. Something's wrong here when coming in contact with the body of the robot takes over half of my fucking health. Yes, at any point in a stage, you can pause the game and tag out with Keiji Inafune's True Love and run amok. Though they don't tell you how to do that from within the game itself, I think you needed the manual to even find this out. Zero sports more health and has far more powerful attacks, including 2 charge shots and his Z-Saber, which kills almost everything in a single slash. This is cool, no doubt the best thing about X3, for as little as that means. You see, you can only use Zero up until you either run into a mini-boss room or the end-boss room. But to Zero, this doesn't matter, because as soon as you approach the door, X immediately stops you in your tracks and forces a switch back, and you're back to the blue bomber. And Zero can only be used once per stage, so if you're thinking you can just switch back to him after taking care of a mini-boss, that ain't the case, my friend. He's on his union break, motherfucker. Dr. Light, what the fuck did you do to my arm upgrade? X2's was perfect. 2 charge shots back to back, that's all I can ask for, and while that's sort of the case here, if you try to spam both shots at once, you instead combine both blasts into a singular wide shot that I swear is one of the most inaccurate weapons in the entire goddamn series. I rarely connect with this son of a bitch, and there's always a momentary delay before you shoot the thing, contributing to its inaccuracy. But the other armor upgrades are perfectly fine. There's the body armor that absorbs damage as usual, the helmet upgrade that maps out the entire level so that you can get an idea what upgrades are, and I think that's pretty cool. And the leg upgrade not only lets you dash in midair, but now you can also dash straight up. That's awesome, much appreciated. If you really go out of your way and explore, you can even find these special pink capsules that contain enhancement chips to further supplement your body parts, regenerating health when you stay still, which also fills up your sub-tanks, the ability to shoot nothing but charge shots with no waiting in between, you get 2 air dashes to really get going, or you can further add defenses. That's great. The problem is you're only allowed to install 1, so you gotta carefully choose which one you want, or you can just wait until the final stages where you can get the special golden armor, which has all the enhancements built in from the get-go. Dr. Light, what are you doing? Why are you being an abusive father now? If you don't take these guys out with their weaknesses when you first encounter them, they survive the fight and you have to deal with them later in the final stages. In Bit and Byte's case, they combine into this thing called the God Car Machine. Oh wow. And in Vile's case, he gives his ride armor some Viagra. Bam! Vile Mark II. And X fans were given the next title in the X lineup, Mega Man X4, released for both the PlayStation and Sega Saturn. Although there's no real differences between the two this time, it's all a matter of what controller you like, that's about it. You know, in a time where companies were making a big push for polygons and strictly 3D games, Capcom went against trends and focused on what they knew from previous experiences. And they were pressured for sure. Sony initially refused to even release Mega Man X4 to focus on 3D games. But Capcom didn't buckle and pressed on. And you know, they could have cheapened out and make like a boss made of polygons with maybe some wireframes, but no, they stuck to their guns and made a game that even today looks pretty damn good. Well, yeah, the acting in X4 is just utter shit. Now, we don't get anything like Dr. Wily or Mega Man, but once again, everyone sounds like they're recording in their parents' living room in the middle of the night, and I'm guessing the script didn't have many punctuation marks?
Don't ask such a silly question. I'm breaking contact now.
I'm disappointed in you, Colonel. What do you think you're doing?
No, this isn't happening. There's no reason for me to go on. What am I fighting for?
That's a good question.
A large Maverick has been spotted attacking the Sky Lagoon, prompting X and Zero to head into action, but they're too little too late as the Sky Lagoon is damaged far beyond repair and sent crashing into the ground, killing countless civilians below.
Oh, shit.
Curious about the presence of the Repliforce army in conjunction with the Maverick attack, X insists that Colonel lay down his weapon for the time and come in for questioning so that Repliforce can clear their names and ensure they had nothing to do with it. Otherwise, they'll be branded as Mavericks. Colonel remarks that the Repliforce wasn't responsible for the attack but refuses to disarm anyway, even temporarily, because it would bring dishonor and shame to the Repliforce name. Oh boy, this is gonna be one of those stories, isn't it? And sure enough, it's really Sigma responsible for the Maverick attack because of course it was. He managed to convince this fellow over here, Magma Dragoon, former Maverick hunter, to cause the Sky Lagoon to crash down while Repliforce was patrolling the area so that Repliforce would look like a suspicious party. And for the record, the reason why Magma Dragoon was okay with all this was because he wanted to fight with X and Zero. Like, that's it. Like, motherfucker, couldn't you have just asked like a friendly sparring session here and there? I'm sure there's a Reploid mixed martial arts or some other shit like that in this world, you dumbass. That doesn't stop some members of Repliforce from attacking civilizations to distract the Maverick hunters anyway, as the rest of the Repliforce begins to build their safe haven in the one place that hasn't been corrupted by politics.
Space!
X in this game is such a leftover. He has no character arc whatsoever. He's just going through the motions. He's a Maverick hunter. He's got to fight Mavericks. He kills Mavericks. That's it. The end. Zero, on the other hand, has a closer connection to the Colonel, as they're apparently war buddies of the sort, and Zero also has the hots for the Colonel's sister, Iris. So you'd think there'd be more of an emotional struggle for Zero, as he has to come to grips that his friend is possibly going rogue, and that his sort of girlfriend constantly pleads that the two don't fight, but the two end up fighting anyway because, but my pride! Halfway through Zero's story, the Colonel contacts Zero to meet with him in this set destination. That's it, nothing else was said, and though Iris begs Zero not to fight him, Zero says it's now a matter of personal pride. What? For all you know, dude, he just wants to talk with you. But then immediately afterwards, we see Colonel at the meetup point, waiting for Zero, and Zero just straight up fucking attacks him completely unprovoked. Okay, maybe it was a safe assumption that the Colonel wanted to trade some fisticuffs, but Zero should have at least asked first. And then he has the balls to ask Colonel to stop the revolution after attempting to take his life, with Colonel proclaiming that he'll never do so, to which I say, gee, maybe if he didn't attack first and ask questions later, that the Colonel might have been willing to listen, you dumbass. But the Colonel has his share of blame for this as well, because he should have just outright said in that message he gave to Iris that he just wanted to talk to Zero, because check out his response after Zero attacks him.
I'm disappointed in you, Colonel. What do you think you're doing?
If he had to ask that, that means he had no intention of fighting the dude in the first place, but they don't talk to each other and just keep fighting. And because of honor and all that, Zero ends up killing the Colonel and eventually Iris, and she sort of loses her mind after the Colonel dies. And look, I'd feel sorrier for Zero. I mean, killing someone you care about is no doubt a difficult thing to deal with, but we're literally told nothing about Iris. This is the first time we're introduced to her. We're supposed to just accept that Zero and Iris are a thing with no backstory or development whatsoever, so no, this doesn't make me feel anything, I'm sorry to say. Fuck it, maybe I've gone Maverick. By the way, I love when Sigma reminds Zero that he was once the commander of the Maverick Hunters and that Zero was once a Maverick, you know, to give us that shocking revelation. But as soon as the flashback ends, Sigma is then shocked to learn that Zero was a Maverick. Like, what? Dude, you just told us that.
Where's that red Maverick that wiped out Garma's unit?
Wait, Zero, you were a Maverick? This was the result of a slight mistranslation, and thanks to @MultiMarioBrothers6 on Twitter for pointing that out. It's still funny to think that Sigma had some sort of memory lapse there. He did get his shit wrecked back then. But luckily, the general sees the errors of his ways and sacrifices himself to prevent the laser from firing. With the Rapid Force completely dismantled and Sigma taken care of once and for all for the 4th time, X and Zero are left to ponder about their futures. Okay, well, X is left to ponder about his future. Zero's a fucking mess, since he just lost 2 good friends. In X4, stages are now broken up into 2 acts, separated by load screens. And whenever a new section begins, your health and weapon ammo are completely refilled. You could be on death's welcome mat when you finish Act 1, and X will make damn sure you know he's suffering. Oh god, I'm dying! But as soon as Act 2 starts, everything's back to normal. Even if you somehow lose all your lives against, say, the boss, you resume from the 2nd act, so you don't even have to play the entire stage again. I'm guessing we caught Dr. Light's previously recorded messages on a good day, because this time he has 2 arm upgrades ready for us. There's one that makes your charge shot super huge and can pierce through enemies and leave a damaging residue that reminds me of the flash bomb from Mega Man 8. And then there's the one that lets you hold up to 4 charge shots, which, I mean, that's amazing. It's like X2's Buster upgrade on crack, and my preferred choice. You know, it's good to know that I have the big guns in store without having to constantly hold down the shoot button and drown the music out with ring. But whatever it may be, Mega Man X5 was originally meant to be the future Blue Bomber's swan song, as Keiji Inafune really wanted to focus on Zero and make a sub-series just for him on the Game Boy Advance. Although you're free to choose from any of the 8 available, only a select few carry the parts needed for the Enigma cannon. Starting off, we have Crescent Grizzly? Oh, no, they did. Oh, God, they did. They changed the names back to normal. It's not supposed to be Tidal Whale. It's Duff McWhalen. Come on, that's one of the most badass names for a Maverick yet. I'm sorry, I can't play this in the Legacy Collection. I'm going back to the PS1. I'm sure you heard this story a million times, particularly if you're an X fan already, but for the few that didn't know, all the Mavericks in X5 were named after members from Guns N' Roses. Grizzly, Slash, the Skyver, Axel the Red, just to name a few. Allison Cord, who you may know as Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2 and Beyond, was in fact the English translator for Mega Man X5, and her then husband at the time was a big fan of Guns N' Roses, so he requested that Miss Cord change the names into what you see here. Duff McWhalen. God, so bad that I love it. It's a reference lost to those who don't know what a gun and or a rose is, but I always thought it was funny. Alright, back on the PlayStation 1. Much better. I think I'll stay with the PS1 version for the rest of the video, and you know what? I'll do the same for X6 for the sake of consistency. You know, this is really nitpicky shit on my behalf, I'm totally aware of that. But if I have a preference, I have a preference, and I can't change that even for the sake of convenience. Anyway, where the hell was I? Right, the Enigma Cannon. I think he's just better suited to do with what X5 throws at you this time, not just because of the armor upgrades, but the level design feels more in line with his abilities. Don't get me wrong, the game's perfectly playable with Zero, and against bosses, he's just as fun as before. But level progression can certainly feel more awkward. Scooter Adler, for instance, is a pain in the ass with the red guy, not just because the stage sucker punches you in the beginning. Nope, I sure wasn't. But some stages just suck no matter who you pick. I love Duff McWhalen's name, I really do, but his level is a fucking drag. An incredibly slow auto-scroller with 3 mini-bosses that, assuming you're going through the intended route, you have to visit 3 times if you want to get all the upgrades, since one of X's armor upgrades requires that you have Duff McWhalen's weapon. Because of the virus currently infesting the planet, Dr. Light now feels it's unsafe to install the upgrades one at a time like before. Therefore, X can now only use the armor when the entire set is complete, which is lame. It completely removes the sense of satisfaction you feel when you find these things. I mean, it's still sort of there, but now you can't use any of the upgrades until you find the others. Having access to the 4th armor from the start somewhat mitigates this, but why fix what wasn't broken, you know? I only used this armor for heart tanks I couldn't reach otherwise and to help against Rangdabanga. Yeah, it's his name, Rangdabanga. X and Zero by default can equip 4 parts, but the armor sets can only equip 2, while the Gaia armor can't equip any. Piece of shit. If you want to score as many parts as possible, you gotta go a real roundabout way of playing this game. Since you need bosses at a high enough level but can't increase your rank by completing stages or by defeating other robots, this means you gotta waste hours on the clock since it's your only option left. So how do you do this? Dying a lot. You get a game over. You head back to the stage selection screen, pick the stage again, and drain the clock since it goes down by an hour every time you pick a stage. Once you finally reach the threshold needed, you can score the part you need from the beaten boss, but you also gotta choose the right option because the part you're given is determined by whether you choose weapon and life or weapon and energy. The former giving you the weapon and extra health, while the latter gives you the weapon and additional ammo for it. Did you catch any of that? I feel this could have been better handled. If you decided to play as Zero for the majority of the game but got shit enough RNG to have the cannon and shuttle fail, you're stuck with X, who probably doesn't have any of his armor upgrades because you didn't bother with them as you stuck with Zero, and he also probably doesn't have any health upgrades either, since again, you decided to stick with Zero. Occasionally, you'll see these purple Sigma heads pop up representing the virus itself, and they have no sense of personal space. Like right here, I'm trying to collect the next armor upgrade, and this asshole is hovering around me like a dog wanting a treat. If X absorbs too many of these, then you take constant damage for a couple of seconds. It's rarely an issue, but something you don't want to deal with anyway. But if Zero grabs too many virus heads, his health is completely restored, and he's invincible for a small duration. Not every day where you can stare at him a level of computer virus and say, oh, that's that good shit. So it turns out Sigma has been in contact with a mysterious figure that knows all about Zero and how he works. Though we never see the person in question, it's pretty damn obvious that it's Dr. Wily, and who knows more about Zero than the creator himself. Now, if Zero went Maverick, this is where he snaps out of it and sacrifices himself to save X, taking the full force of Sigma's blast. But then, we find that X is still lying on the floor unconscious, and Sigma, instead of taking advantage of the situation, decides to let X live until next time. Sigma, are you fucked in the head? He's right there, dude! Zero can't defend him anymore, what are you doing? If Zero didn't turn Maverick, then things are a bit better for a small amount of time. No matter who kills Sigma, Zero, oh my god, Zero, Jesus, it's a good thing these guys have no blood. Sigma is wiped out, but Zero finally succumbs to his wounds. 3 years pass by and X is seen still fighting the good fight, honoring his deceased friend by wielding his trusty Z-Saber. Do you remember Dynamo? The fuck happened to him? Also, Zero's death is treated as a big deal, and I get why this is supposed to be the last game and such, but did they forget this wasn't the first time he's been through this situation? He was fucking blown in half when he sacrificed himself near the end of X1, and a big point of X2 is putting him back together, so unless something's changed, couldn't they just do that again? And on that note, and I really should have brought this up in X4, but if Zero loved Iris so much, why not just fix her back up? She's a robot. Robots can be rebuilt. Am I an asshole for thinking this? Yeah, most likely. It's just when they established that Zero could survive something like this before, with how many times Sigma has come back from the brink, death sort of loses its impact. Or I could be missing the point entirely. And let's not forget the fucking Shadow Devil! Yeah, this is something we needed to call back to, and fuck me, this guy does so much damage on contact! Look at what he took away from me, what the fuck? Thankfully, though, I can cheese this fucker by constantly wall jumping, completing avoiding his stupid block attacks, but damn is it murder on my thumbs. Okay, so our story begins with a Reploid scientist named Gate inspecting the catastrophic wreckage of the space colony. Upon discovering some mysterious remains on the ground, the man slowly begins losing his mind and starts unleashing his grand experiment upon the world, the Nightmare, a virus that can honestly do whatever the fuck it wants. It can cause robots to hallucinate, it can drive them crazy and turn them Maverick, it can turn lava purple, turn the lights off. Seriously, whatever strange occurrence that happens in X6 is literally blamed on the Nightmare every single time. It's this game's excuse for all the irritating shit you're bound to run into. But Gate is eventually discovered as the head honcho and X raids his home base to deal with the matter personally. Gate and his glamorous Sentai gear is sooner or later put down and the day seems safe, but because we can't dare have an original villain in an X game, Gate reveals that he managed to resurrect Sigma as a backup plan. I'm fucking serious, Sigma is just suddenly brought into the plot just like that, and while I do like the fact that he's sort of a pathetic zombie now, you know, seeing that he was brought back in such a hurry and it leads to like a creepy encounter, this is such a weak-ass conclusion. Sigma is taken care of lickety-split because no shit, his boss battle is one of the easiest, if not the easiest in the franchise, and the day is finally... Oh, right, Zero is in this game! Yeah, so one of the first nightmare effects that X encounters at the start of the game is a hallucination of Zero. At first, it seems helpful, seeing as it helps X take care of this large robot that was causing trouble earlier, but the next time X runs into it, should he run into it, the thing is suddenly hostile and X takes him out, but immediately after the Nightmare Zero dies, the real Zero suddenly shows up. It just happens. No fanfare, no dramatic reveal. Zero just pops up like an office coworker late for work. Turns out Zero didn't die from Sigma's attack at the end of X5 after all, and by that I mean the good ending of X5. In the aftermath, Zero apparently went into seclusion and repaired himself, or to quote him directly, he hit himself and then repaired himself. Wow, seriously? That's what they're going with? Look at him at the end of X5, look at him! He is nothing but a torso and an arm. Now it is strongly implied that Dr. Light actually has something to do with Zero's resurrection, but they never outright say it, and I don't know why they play that up as a mystery, because there's no way in hell I would ever believe that Zero brought himself back from the brink. For the record, I'm not against him coming back, period. He's done so before, but in X2 he had to be put back together like a Lego set thanks to the combined efforts of X and Dr. Kane. So just say say Dr. Light brought him back and leave it at that. None of this hid myself, repair myself bullshit. What the fuck did that look like? But a couple are given pretty tragic backstories that don't necessarily make them Mavericks, but since they're willing to defend Gate by any means necessary, they're unfortunately in our way and have to be put down. Some even respect X and Zero a great deal and regret the circumstances of their meeting, but again, it's all undercooked because when push comes to shove, it's still a typical Mega Man X game, and it's not as if you can convince any of these guys to lay their arms down. Lord knows X would want nothing more than to not fight. But every character's dialogue had this annoying ping that accompanied every individual character text. Yeah, that got ear-grating in no time, so props to XX for going the extra mile and just giving us voices, even if there wasn't any time for an English dub. Or a proper localization. I'll defend XX and how it presents the story, but the dialogue itself reads as if it was directly translated from the Japanese script. It's like they used Google Translate. It can read so awkwardly when said out loud. It's full of redundancies, bad grammar, typos galore. It's not a pretty sight. One of the biggest consequences of the crunch development, no doubt. But man, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The darkness effect in Rainy Turloid makes progression a goddamn chore, even more so in Commander Yanmark's stage, where you also have to deal with instant kill spikes, something I swear Mega Man X6 has a fetish for. It's worse than Mega Man 4. But Blaze Heatnik's fireballs and Blizzard Wolfang's level, holy fuck, how are you supposed to avoid getting hit? I mean, without wasting 1,000 hours of your life into the game. These pathways also have their own boss fights. At first, it's Nightmare Zero, and he's relatively easy to take down as long as you use X's Z-Saber, but when Nightmare Zero is finished, the boss of these alternate pathways becomes High Max, one of Gate's creations. Do not fight this guy as soon as possible. Do not take another alternate pathway until you defeated at least one Maverick. High Max is impossible to damage with your default weapon. Impossible! Your charge shot, your Z-Saber, nada, nothing happens. So what can you do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's a dead game until you lose all your lives and leave the stage. That's absurd! No other X game before put you in that kind of scenario. You could damage the X-Hunters with your regular weapon. You could damage Bit and Bite with your regular weapons. But High Max, it's like a punishment for basic exploration. I mean, shit! I want to love the shadow armor. Who doesn't like the idea of a robot ninja? You shoot ninja stars, you can cling on ceilings, you're immune to spikes, you can't use special weapons, but your Z-Saber is now orange flavored. The shadow armor doesn't have an air dash though, and that alone cripples it in my opinion, causing it to fall under the same trappings as normal X if you don't have the necessary parts equipped. But to begin equipping these parts, your hunter rank needs to be at a proper level firstly, and in X6 you now increase this by collecting Nightmare Souls. Whenever you find these noodle guys, you can collect the souls they drop when they die. Under the right conditions, you can get a shitload of them by running into Dynamo, because fuck it, he's not doing anything at the moment. What an utterly pointless character this guy is. Another thing to watch out for is nightmares that are close to hostages. If this happens, you kill that motherfucker immediately, because nightmares will slowly head towards whatever hostage is close by and attempt to permanently corrupt them. And when that happens, that hostage is considered dead. And if that hostage had a useful part for X and Zero, that son of a bitch is gone for good unless you reload your save file. Yeah, you just can't exit and re-enter the stage because hostages don't respawn. There's even a couple of glitches I can do with the right tools, like using Rainy Turloid's technique on this guy to get infinite invincibility frames. Now look at me as I run through everything without taking damage, and I can also do this in Gate's Fortress as well, thank fuck. For some reason, I can use Shield Sheldon's Guard Shield to cause Zero Saber to fucking annihilate some Maverick, so I don't even need it for Rainy Turloid. I can just stand behind him and do this, because that's the thing you can do in this game for some baffling reason. Kinda like Sonic 06, there's something I find fun in breaking this game. That ain't an accolade for the record, that's just me being a stubborn dumbass. But it doesn't change the fact that Mega Man X6, fundamentally, is a giant mess. No matter how you approach it, the level design is some of the worst in the franchise. It's got some of the most dickheaded boss fights on top of that. The Nightmare Mother High Max Round 2 is X. Gay can rot in Android hell, fuck what Alien thinks. I guess it wouldn't hurt to try it on Legacy Collection with Rookie Hunter mode turned on. I don't think anybody will hold it against you, and if they did, fuck them. This is something I think only diehards can find some semblance of joy from. I can find little nuggets here and there, but only when I'm breaking the rules. This game cheats, so I cheat back. Fuck it. God damn, this is a long one. What the fuck? Where was this asshole at? Barged into my Mega Man 3 video, but suddenly too good for my Mega Man X6 video? Tonsillitis wasn't that convenient. Well, I got something for his ass later on. Oh shit, the camera's still on. I was all over my Game Boy at the turn of the millennium. I always had a love for the portable brick, but the likes of Pokemon really made me enamored with the thing before the PlayStation 2 took all my time afterwards. As such, when I wasn't grinding my ass off to take care of the Elite Four, I was sifting through Toys R Us bins to see what else I could play for the thing, and that's when I caught eye of Mega Man Extreme. I thought to myself, hey, is this any good? You gotta remember, this was at a time when I still had my Super Nintendo, but my library was next to non-existent because of the family's focus on the PlayStation, so I couldn't revisit the SNES Classic all wily-niley. During a routine snooze, because I think that's what X is doing here, and he sleeps standing up, weirdo. Anyway, X finds himself waking up in familiar territory. After rummaging around the destroyed highway from Mega Man X, the blue bomber unexpectedly runs into Vava. That's his Japanese name, and it looks like they didn't bother translating it. What the hell's with Sigma's head here, though? I swear he's just shy of giving me like a cat-like grin. What the hell is his face? X and Zero learn that the ones responsible for this soul erasure is the combined efforts of this dude named Gareth and this lady named Burkana. And I just want to say, while these two aren't very interesting as far as villains go, they're pretty one note. I love Burkana's design. We don't get many female villains in the X series, or all of Mega Man now that I think about it, but this is a damn good design. It's the witch attire. I'm a sucker for that sort of shit. So this whole thing with DNA souls and such is this game's excuse to resurrect Mavericks from past games, as Gareth wants to build an army for his own ambitions, and with the collected souls, he can bring old Mavericks back from the dead. Sounds like something you'd see out of a Halloween episode of Mega Man X. Maybe the old Mavericks are these mindless husks that crave for blood and brains, or maybe the whole game would have this dark and eerie overtone to it. I think that'd be interesting, honestly, but nah. Now, I ended up using X for the majority of my playtime because, again, Zero takes some patience to work with. This is basically like having 2 health bars, and great for when you need a certain strategy against the boss, because, man, against this asshole, you need that sort of shit. Seriously, fuck this guy. Who designed this dickhead? The guys who made Mega Man in base? The only time I sampled Mega Man X7 was way back in high school. I rented it one time, but I never got past the intro stage, and honestly, I cannot remember why. Maybe I got distracted by schoolwork? It wasn't like me to just drop something so early on, especially a rental? That shit was coming out of my pocket. What kind of money did I have as a teenager? Jack and shit. How does Mega Man X7 handle that leap into 3D? The answer? Well, if we're gonna start visually, not very well. Axel's had enough of Red Alert's increasingly violent aggression and wants out, and after dealing with some giant robots, Axel runs into Zero and is soon taken to Maverick Hunter HQ. There he meets X, who after years of bloodshed and flashy explosions, finally decided to step down from the action and yearn to find a more peaceful solution. Oh yes, you can't even play as Mega Man X in Mega Man X7 without going through some hoops properly, which I'll cover later. Anyway, the leader of Red Alert, known as Red, contacts Maverick Hunter HQ and demands that Axel be returned. With Axel refusing, Red decides to make a little game out of the whole thing. He'll release some Mavericks currently under Red Alert captivity and challenges the Maverick Hunters to hunt down as many as possible to win custody of Axel. Is a court hearing?
We've made this mistake time and time again. Why must Reploids continue this accursed cycle of aggression?
Actually, while we're on the subject of voice acting, well, it's good that we have an English dub this time around, and the script isn't swimming in typos and grammatical errors, but fuck me. Folks either are overperforming or are bored out of their minds. X, I don't know what direction Peter Von Gahn was given for his performance. Just because they're robots doesn't mean you have to put in a robotic performance. Axel, I immediately recognize the voice. It's Lena Hart, who I only know from Musashi Samurai Legend, and I'm sure she's a sweet person, but I guess she only has one voice for feisty guys.
My name's Musashi. I'm gonna be a famous samurai someday.
I always thought you and X were so cool.
I want to fight. I want to be a Maverick Hunter.
And a part of me likes Sigma's Dr. Claw impression.
Would you be willing to place a wager on my little idea?
Oh, yeah, Sigma's the main bad guy here. Who could have seen that come? But eventually, Axel, Zero, and X wipe out the Mavericks, take on Red, and thwart Sigma again, all in a day's work. And then Axel finds a new home with the Maverick Hunters. Really, all we're missing here is the 3 guys running towards the camera like in Batman and Robin. X decides to lace up his boots and rejoin the action again, and he's easily the strongest character in the game. His charge shot is disgustingly large, his armor upgrades give him the beefiest defense, and my god, they finally got rid of that stupid security shit from X5 and X6, so when you find an upgrade, you get the benefits immediately. Thank you. From my experience, most hostages were placed in relatively easy to spot locations. Like, the moment you see a hostage spawn, if you make a beeline straight for them, you'll rescue them just fine. My only snag was with Flame Hyenar stage, which seems to have a fetish for killing hostages now that I think about it. The ones next to the time explosives were giving me shit because you have to jump through so many hurdles just to get to them before the bomb goes off. That is until I accidentally discovered that if I off-screen the bomb before it detonates, it still goes off, but the hostage remains intact, easy for the picking. Using that old school Crash Bandicoot jank to my advantage. If you were to ask me on what my biggest problem with Mega Man X7 was, it's so slow and boring. Oh my god, and I'm not talking about the load times either, though. If you are going to play this at all, please play it on the Legacy Collection where the load times are drastically cut down. On the PS2, this game has a horrendous amount of long load screens, and don't get me wrong, the amount of load screens is the same on Legacy Collection, but nowhere near as stretched out. You look up meandering in the dictionary, and you'll find Mega Man X7. My first warning sign was as early as the save screen. What do I want to do? I want to save the game. Do you want to save the game? Yeah, that's why I picked it. So I saved my game, but then I'm taken back to the choices again. What do I want to do? Return to the stage select screen. Return to the stage select screen. Oh my god, yes! And I have to do this every single time I exit a stage. Okay, I got a chip from a hostage. Aelia tells me that I can use this to increase my attributes. Okay, that's great. Oh, here's another chip, and oh, Jesus Christ. Is Aelia gonna tell me what chips do each time I get one? I know how they work, so let's get a move on. Come on! My default weapon ended up being the weapon of choice for most, if not all, of these guys, and let me tell you, man. This game is just a mile a minute! These guys take so long to kill, and you gotta do it twice because of the traditional boss rush near the end of the game. And yeah, some of these guys love to talk, but not in the endearing sort of way. Even if you never played Mega Man X7, you probably knew someone who brought up Flame High-Art. No? Well, I'm sorry, but... Just listen to that. Listen to that. Did nobody think that sounded broken? I turned the volume down because I got so annoyed with it. And yeah, I definitely heard it beforehand, but fuck. Technically, I stress, there isn't much wrong as far as the game structure goes. Nothing's broken, except him. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody that showed up to my panel over at AVGC this year in Secaucus, New Jersey. It's literally called a video game con. And Pat, if you happen to be listening, thank you once again for the Chaos Emerald donation. Maybe I can go collect all 7 finally and wish for a decent 3D Sonic game. But let's get that story out of the way first, because... So, throughout the years, the Maverick epidemic has been increasingly becoming a sore spot for the humans. And now that we're at the end of the series, for now at least, may I ask, where the fuck are humans in this series? For as much as the Maverick hunters yearn to protect them and how they're always caught in between the Reploids and their endless struggles, we never really see any humans around here or their perspective on things. I can only think of Dr. Kane and... yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess I can count Dr. Light, but he's just a fancy hologram now. It probably wouldn't make much of a difference, sure, but I think it would have made things a little more interesting in the grander scheme of things. If anything, just to see the human side of it, to get that perspective. Yeah, Jacob Project, like the latter. X8 has a couple of religious references for some not-so-subtle symbolism. The moon representing heaven, the first stage being called Noah's Park, that made me laugh, I don't know why. In this game, Sigma looks like the fucking devil, and Luminae's ultimate attack is called Paradise Lost. Does this make him an X or Final Fantasy? It's not a big deal, it's more amusing than thoughtful, it's just, I don't know why they suddenly wanted to reference religious concepts. Maybe it sounded cool to them. Oh, if you couldn't guess that Sigma was in this game and that Luminae was really a bad guy, I don't know what to tell you. But that Luminae acts as if he's been pulling all the strings and that the rebellion was his idea, so either he's lying or maybe he was programmed by Sigma to betray Sigma to make Sigma's goals harder to achieve? It's not written very well, but alright then. It's a standard Mega Man X story besides all that. Development of the Jacob Project is threatened when the unexpected return of Vile puts a damper on things. It's funny too, because they play up Vile as X and Zero's arch nemesis, and sure, he's certainly one of the most recognizable villains, but the last time he was here was in X3, and in case you forgot, that was 5 games ago. Arch nemesis my ass. Everyone's more realistically proportioned this time. Not too much, but enough to be noticeable. It's something I care less and less for as I played the game, so I should stress, it's not really that big of a deal. These new models and such are fine, even better when in action. Though in animated cutscenes, the body movement's okay, but everyone's faces never really move past the whole I think I left my wallet in the taxi cab sort of face. It's just a bit jarring. They gave Aelia boobs now because I guess it wasn't obvious enough that she was a girl before, and this new navigator, Layer, I mean, I love a good underboob, but this is a bit much. And Palette, I got nothing for her. What the fuck is that shit on her head? It's like they snapped a stapler in half and put it on the sides of her head. Optic Sunflower Stage tests your killing abilities against these cute little things that I swear are more expendable than the Servbots and Mega Man Legends. You wreck their shit everywhere in this game. But if you do it fast enough, you get better rewards. Shit, if you do it perfectly, then you get this special warp that sends you, oh hey look, it's Cutman. Look at it guys, it's Cutman. He's easy as shit, but there he is. Did you know I had a ton of people flood my DMs making sure I knew about this Easter egg, assuming I didn't already know about it myself or didn't want me to be surprised for myself? You guys are great, thanks. Gigabolt Man, oh, what the fuck kind of name is this? No, really, every other Maverick up until this point has some sort of animal motif next to their objective. What the hell is a Man-O-War? A jellyfish? Oh shit, it is. Well, fuck. And as before, you get new weapons whenever you destroy a Maverick. I love how X8 brings back the demonstrations on what every weapon does for every character this time, instead of just relying on a description. Wait. Weapon get? Where'd the proper English go? Well shit, now it feels like I'm collecting shine sprites in Super Mario Sunshine.
What am I fighting for?
You can now mix and match which armor parts go on your head, your body, your arms, and legs, and I love this. Yeah, you miss out on the exclusive perk if you don't have the entirety of one set equipped, but I love that X8 gives you the choice. Do I want this arm upgrade that gives me this spread shot, or this giant fuck you laser? And do I want to pair that with a leg upgrade that lets me jump higher, or the leg upgrade that gives me an invisible dash? It's all up to you, you get the benefits immediately after finding the upgrades. This is easily a step up from before, very much so. Hell, with the right conditions, you can unlock a character's ultimate armor. You know, if you want to have an easier time, you can even unlock the Navigator's Aelia Pilot and Lair as playable characters. They require an obnoxious amount of chips to unlock. In fact, I only had the patience to unlock Ayla, who's pretty much a female X. And she's a cool little extra. It's fun to finally be able to play as her, but gathering the chips to purchase this shit? Yeah, fuck Mega Man X was released in 2004, and here we are near the end of 2018. Yeah, that's a long time. The damage was already done, sadly, but I think it's slowly getting better. We got the Legacy Collection, as you know, and there's strong implications that we're getting an X9 at some point in the future, and knowing Capcom, it'll be 2D, so we'll see how that works out in time. The X Challenge is the biggest selling point of the Legacy Collection. I didn't spend much time on it, but the idea is great. It's you as Mega Man X going against two Mavericks at the same time. It's only Mavericks from X1 through X6, and some are left out of the challenge entirely, sadly, but it is the ultimate test for veteran Mega Man X players. You're only allowed to bring 3 weapons from a predetermined selection, and it's up to you to make them last throughout the challenges given. There's a bit of graphical clashing here and there, namely when you're going against a Super Nintendo Maverick and a PlayStation Maverick at the same time, like it's clear who's from what era. And X's new custom sprite is just flat out ugly. Like, where did all his shading go? It's so flat in appearance. You're also only allowed to play as X for this, so Zero fans are gonna be disappointed if he's a favorite of the bunch. I do think that was a boneheaded exclusion. The man's been playable for years and he doesn't even get a spot here. But again, I didn't spend much time on this because, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're facing off against 2 Mavericks at once and it requires a shitload of finesse to even complete it. It's for the tougher-than-nails Mega Man fans. I did play a couple of these stages on easy just to see the challenges ahead, and dear God, I dread doing some of these on normal or hard. Vile Mark II and High Max at the same time? Look at this, it's a fucking mess. Surprise! So, what's going on? Mega Man 11 now? Where's Command Mission? Well, Command Mission's an RPG, need a little more time for that. And I got a review code thanks to the folks over at Capcom, so if you ask me, that takes priority. Whenever there was news of an upcoming project, it ended up being cancelled. Mega Man Online, Mega Man Universe, Mega Man Legends 3, these all seemed like promising titles, but they were all collectively pushed aside, almost as if Capcom were trying to sweep the guy under the rug. If you have to go 2.5D, I think this is how you do it. I have little complaints about this direction. It helps that classic Mega Man by default has more over-the-top aesthetic than the likes of the X series or the Zero series. I always loved how expressive the enemies were in classic Mega Man. It's visually pleasing to me. Except with this guy, the Arc Welder. I look at these sad eyes and I'm like, fuck man. I relate so goddamn much, but I gotta shoot you now, you're in my way. I'm gonna be spoiling some gameplay elements throughout the whole video anyway, so I recommend you skip this completely if you want to go in blind. I know that's a very no shit sort of thing to say, but you'd be surprised. I still get the occasional jackasses that get on my ass for spoiling things, completely forgetting that these videos are always my thoughts and opinions on them, but, you know, whatever. So, holy shit, our story begins with a flashback of a young Dr. Light and Dr. Wily. What we're seeing here is the exact moment Light and Wily had their falling out, something no game up until this point really elaborated on, so that's pretty neat. Wily is trying his hardest to push his new double gear technology, a system that allows robots to become stronger and faster than ever before so that they're more efficient and treated with more respect. Dr. Light and the committee are against this, however, as the double gear system could be potentially dangerous if placed into the wrong hands and if not put in check. So they say nuts to that in favor of Dr. Light's research concerning robots and independent thought, a process, may I remind you, that will eventually lead to the creation of Mega Man X, whose free will is deemed as potentially dangerous for cataclysmic reasons, but no Light. Wily is totally in the wrong here. Fuck giving the guy a chance and having him go through the checks and balances. Alright, but to be fair, Dr. Light later on claims remorse for his decisions back then, and he's sure that if he gave Wily a chance back then, things would be different today. Well, too late for that, buddy. You fucked him, dude. Mega Man rushes in to stop him, and for a moment I didn't realize that was a broom he was carrying. I thought it was a random robot leg, and I was like, what the fuck was he doing back there? I feel the controls are tight and responsive. Like, there wasn't a time where I fell to my death or took a hit with it feeling like the game didn't read a button input. I died plenty of times regardless. I don't know, man. It really feels like Mega Man 11 overtuned the hell out of the knockback you suffer when taking damage, and that's on top of the longer recovery period. It feels like a good second before you're able to move Mega Man again. Torchman was my first level, and let me tell you now, this stage left me nervous as shit for the rest of the game because it did not leave me with the best first impression from playing this. You got three of these segments where you're chased by an instant kill firewall, and I died more than a handful of times because of knockback, the stun from the knockback, and what felt like crunch level design where you have to make these precise jumps to get through things before the wall catches up and incinerates you. Most of the special weapons in this game are magnificent as well, and I love how in this game, once you get the weapon, the game lets you give it a test drive to see how it works so you don't have to waste ammo or, you know, put yourself in danger to get the most out of it. Every Mega Man game after this needs to have this. It is an awesome way of letting players get a feel for the weapon. The bounce ball is awesome for how much distance it covers in a short amount of time. It can be a little erratic because it's almost like you're shooting 3 super happy fun balls at once, but you don't taunt super happy fun balls, motherfucker, and I'm glad Capcom knows that. For added carnage, go to the options menu, turn on rapid fire mode, get yourself the upgrade chip that automatically charges your buster shot without needing to hold the button down, and watch in awe as your power lemons rip enemies apart while in speed gear. Sometimes it gets a little too safe for the 11th entry in the series. Balloon Man's level reminds me too much of Spring Man's stage in Mega Man 7 with how much you're bouncing around, and it makes getting this E-Tank a pain in the ass. Confound these balloons! I just want my damn energy drink! Torchman reminds me of Magma Dragoon from Mega Man X4, and the first boss in Wily Castle 1 is the Yellow Devil again. It's different enough to be fair, but come on, this is pretty blatant. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but concept, you see this is how you do cutscenes. I mean, these are still relatively static, but there's much more effort placed here in character animations and expressions. Look at Otto and Roll there, hiding in the back. That's the taste of fear. It's set a century afterwards, but Command Mission is very much an alternate continuity. It's doing its own thing. It's not your traditional Mega Man X for starters. Sigma is nowhere to be seen in this, and perhaps most importantly, X has this spiffy new energy scarf that's simply there for aesthetic. Looks pretty cool though, can't really say why Zero and Axel aren't given any additional touch-ups. They look about the same as before though. I wondered, how would Command Mission handle the Mega Man X lore, and what kind of story would it tell? I think I could best sum up my answer like this. X and Zero managed to locate Epsilon on top of the ruins, but faster than you can say the sky is blue, it turns out Shadow here was a sleeper agent working for Epsilon, and then proceeds to turn on the hero. Zero is knocked out of commission, and X, in one of his more pragmatic moments, manages to make his escape for the time being. X eventually finds Zero alive and well, the gang also run into Axel in time, and he joins up with them, and then soon, our heroes clash with Epsilon. But then it turns out Epsilon was only a pawn for the true villain of the game, and if you think I'm gonna say Sigma, nope, it's Colonel Redips, X and Zero superior, bum bum bum. And what's his reasoning for all this? He wants Reploids to evolve and make them the superior beings. Well, we've heard that before many times, so yeah, that's nothing new. X and the gang take him out, the day is saved, and the game quickly rushes to the credits. We're introduced to a healthy number of other protagonists. I already mentioned Spider, but there's also the towering Massimo, the ninja thief Marino, and the cute and innocent Cinnamon. Unfortunately, after we're introduced to them, they don't amount to anything afterwards. We get maybe one or two quirks about them. Spider's the suave card dealer, Marino likes to steal things, and Cinnamon is white mage bitch. After that, they're names on a party list. Also, robot children, how does that work? Do Reploids fucking have kids? Do they grow organically? Or are they later dismantled and rebuilt as teenagers and adults? This is the kind of shit I think about when nothing else piques my interest. While exploring one of the many dungeons, so to speak, you fight random encounters. X does his little Michael Jackson pose here. And you gain experience that slowly levels your characters up, making them stronger and bulkier for later, more challenging encounters. Every other RPG I know, you inspect boxes with the confirmation button, and then claim the rewards, but in Command Mission, you have to dash through boxes to break them open, and I'm like, come on, that's just being different for the sake of being different. It's a small thing, but one I don't fully understand why it was implemented that way. Do enough damage at once and you can do the final strike. It's basically one last fuck you to your opponent as your team bombards them with an assload of bullets and weapon strikes. But unless you trigger a final strike against multiple baddies at once, these normally only target one enemy at a time, and that can feel like a waste. It's like, guys, there's plenty of other bad guys to shoot. Maybe we can turn our guns and aim these explosions on the other enemies watching? And for the record, if you're gonna have us face a lot of enemies at once, it's probably not a good idea to give them stationary sound effects. One of my least favorite enemies in this game are these bunny bots. Not just because they can fucking reproduce, but because they all make these hopping noises, and when there's 4 of them on the screen at once... Holy fuck. But before I head into the future, I do have a couple of announcements. First up, my Pixel Empire store's got some new shirts. In celebration of my Mega Man videos, I got this lovely new Some Call Me Johnny design based on classic Mega Man. The artist did a magnificent job on this. Thank you so much. My robot master weapon should be called Dark Roast. Use it wisely. I also got this new shirt based on my shit-eating amiibo face. I've gotten tons of requests for this one, so here you go. It's my amiibo face. Wondering if that's an amiibo floating above me. It's not. It's a Funko Pop, and I can't fucking stand those.